From an all-American cowboy playing a Mongolian conqueror to baffling accents that just shattered the illusion, some actors were completely and utterly wrong for the part. These 5 casting decisions weren't just bad. They became legendary failures that are arguably more famous than the movies themselves. Today, we're counting down Hollywood's biggest casting disasters. Coming in at number 5 is a choice that put Gotham's hero on ice for nearly a decade. George Clooney as Batman in Batman and Robin. In the mid-90s, Clooney was the guy in Hollywood. Fresh off his star-making turn in ER, he had the chiseled jawline and the charisma that Warner Brothers wanted for their third Batman in as many films. The logic seemed simple. Plug a beloved, bankable star into the cowl and count the cash. But what works for a charming doctor in Chicago doesn't necessarily translate to the brooding, tormented vigilante of Gotham City. The problem wasn't that Clooney was a bad actor. It was that his entire persona was the complete opposite of the character. Bruce Wayne is supposed to be a mask, a frivolous act hiding a deeply troubled soul. Clooney's performance, however, had none of that essential darkness. His Bruce Wayne was just George Clooney in a fancy suit. He seemed more like a guy who was genuinely enjoying the high life than a man haunted by his parents' murder. Fans and critics agreed it was one of the worst portrayals of Batman, with many finding his performance flat-out boring. The result was a Batman who smirked through action scenes and delivered lines with a detached coolness that felt totally out of place. The movie was already a campy, neon-drenched sequel, but Clooney's light-as-a-feather performance was the final nail in the coffin. He didn't have the intensity of Michael Keaton or the tortured complexity that Christian Bale would later perfect. Clooney himself has been the first to admit it was a mistake, once saying, "I wasn't good in it. It wasn't a good film." The movie was savaged by critics, and, while it made money, it was a huge box office disappointment that put the Batman franchise on ice for 8 years. It was a perfect cautionary tale that a handsome face and a charming smile do not a Dark Knight make. At number 4, it's not just a single actor, but a whole ensemble of misfires. M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender is widely seen as one of the worst adaptations ever, and the disastrous casting is a huge reason why. The original animated series, Avatar: The Last Airbender, is celebrated for its rich world, heavily inspired by Asian and Inuit cultures. Fans and critics widely interpret the characters of Aang, Katara, and Sokka as reflecting these influences. So, you can imagine the immediate and fierce backlash when the live-action cast was announced. The heroic lead roles of Aang, Katara, and Sokka were given to white actors, while the villainous Fire Nation characters were predominantly cast with actors of South Asian and Middle Eastern descent. This practice, known as whitewashing, sparked accusations of racial insensitivity and led to organized fan boycotts. Fans were furious that the movie had stripped the characters of their perceived ethnicity. Shyamalan tried to defend his choices, claiming the movie would be the most culturally diverse tentpole ever made. But audiences just weren't buying it. The casting felt tone-deaf, betraying the spirit of the source material. On top of the whitewashing controversy, the performances themselves were completely lifeless. The actors delivered clunky dialogue with such a deadpan seriousness that it drained all the fun and charm from the characters we loved. The cartoon's vibrant, funny, and emotional personalities were replaced by stiff, wooden figures. There was no chemistry, no spark, and not a single actor could save the train wreck. The failure was so complete that the planned trilogy was scrapped immediately. The film serves as a powerful lesson that adapting a story isn't just about plot points. It's about respecting the cultural identity that made it special in the first place. Our number 3 spot goes to another firestorm of controversy. Scarlett Johansson as Major Motoko Kusanagi in the live-action Ghost in the Shell. The original Japanese manga and anime are iconic, telling the story of a cyborg counterterrorism operative in a futuristic Japan. The protagonist, Major Kusanagi, is a character with a Japanese name in a story steeped in Japanese culture, so she is generally seen as a Japanese character. So, when one of Hollywood's most famous white actresses was cast in the role, the outcry was deafening. The decision was instantly slammed as a textbook example of Hollywood whitewashing. Critics and fans argued that casting a white woman in a story so deeply rooted in Japanese culture was disrespectful and erased a massive opportunity for an Asian actress to lead a blockbuster. Petitions were launched, and the controversy completely dominated the film's marketing. The producers tried to defend the choice, and Johansson herself stated she would never presume to play another race of a person. The film even tried to justify the casting in its plot by revealing the Major's cyborg body was just a shell with a Japanese brain inside. But this twist only made things worse, feeling like a clumsy attempt to have it both ways. Interestingly, the director of the original anime, Mamoru Oshii, defended the casting. He argued that since the character is a cyborg, her physical form is assumed, so there was no reason an Asian actress had to play her. But this did little to quiet the backlash. The controversy completely overshadowed the film itself. While visually stunning, many viewers couldn't get past the casting. It sparked boycotts and intense debate, ultimately contributing to the film's disappointing box office performance. The casting of Scarlett Johansson is a modern textbook example of how ignoring a character's cultural identity can alienate your core audience and doom a film before it even opens. Taking our number 2 spot is a performance so offensive that it's left a permanent stain on an otherwise beloved classic. We're talking about Mickey Rooney's portrayal of Mr. Yunioshi in Breakfast at Tiffany's. While the film is famous for Audrey Hepburn's iconic Holly Golightly, Rooney's character is a grotesque caricature that's simply impossible to ignore. The problem isn't just that a white actor was playing a Japanese character. The issue is how he played him. Rooney wore prosthetic buck teeth, had his eyelids taped, and spoke in a horribly exaggerated, stereotypical accent. It was a yellow-face performance that is shocking by any standard. His portrayal isn't a character. It's a collection of offensive clichés, presented as a bumbling, short-sighted buffoon. Even when the film was released in 1961, some reviewers pointed out that the role was a caricature that would be offensive. Over the decades, that criticism has only grown louder. The film's own director, Blake Edwards, later said he deeply regretted the choice and wished he could recast the role. Mickey Rooney, in his later years, expressed surprise and regret over the backlash, claiming they were just having fun and that he never got a complaint for decades. But today, the character is so widely condemned that some television networks have even cut his scenes from their broadcasts. Mr. Yunioshi remains one of Hollywood's most cringe-inducing and indefensible casting choices, a glaring blemish on the history of cinema. And now, for the number 1 biggest casting disaster in Hollywood history. The one that has truly become the gold standard for miscasting. John Wayne as the Mongolian Emperor Genghis Khan in The Conqueror. This choice is so legendarily bad, it feels like a joke. John Wayne was, and still is, the ultimate symbol of the all-American cowboy. His swagger, his drawl, his entire persona was inseparable from the American West. Casting him as a 12th-century Mongolian warlord was, to put it mildly, a stretch. The result is nothing short of a cinematic farce. Watching John Wayne, with a Fu Manchu-style mustache and bronzed skin, trying to deliver lines like, "You're beautiful in your wrath," with his signature cowboy cadence, is just unintentionally hilarious. He made zero effort to change his iconic voice or mannerisms, basically playing Genghis Khan as a sheriff on the Mongolian plains. It was the epitome of cultural insensitivity, and a decision so baffling it could only have come from the film's eccentric producer, Howard Hughes. The movie was overwhelmingly panned by critics, who tore into Wayne's performance. Even Wayne knew it was a huge mistake. He reportedly hated the film, and later said that the main lesson he learned was not to make a donkey of yourself, trying to play parts you're not suited for. The Conqueror isn't just a bad movie. It's a historic catastrophe. It stands as the ultimate example of a star being so fundamentally wrong for a role that it turns an epic into a laughable failure. It is, without a doubt, Hollywood's biggest casting disaster. So, which of these casting choices still makes you cringe the most? Are there any other legendary failures we missed? Let us know down in the comments. These films prove that even with big budgets and bigger stars, a single catastrophically wrong casting choice can be all it takes to ruin a movie. Sometimes an actor is just plain wrong for the part, and when that happens, Hollywood history is made, for all the wrong reasons. If you enjoyed this countdown of cinematic train wrecks, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.